You get all the wealth, and I get this? Darius stood in disbelief as the lawyer handed him the keys to the old car, the same one that had been rotting in their father's garage for years. Across the room, Marlon, his millionaire brother, laughed, mocking not just the inheritance but Darius's life choices. But what seemed like a joke at the time would soon become the very thing that binds their fractured relationship. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more exciting content, and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Now let's dive in. The musty air of the lawyer's office felt heavy with unspoken tension as Marlon and Darius sat across from each other. Marlon, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, exuded confidence, his eyes glinting with the success he had earned over the years. In contrast, Darius, wearing worn jeans and a faded t-shirt, seemed lost in the shadows of his brother's achievements. The attorney, a middle-aged man with thinning hair, shuffled through the papers on his desk, clearing his throat before announcing, "Your father has left his estate to you both." The statement hung in the air, and Darius's heart raced, a flicker of hope igniting within him. Maybe there was something for him after all, perhaps a small token of their father's love. But as the lawyer continued, Darius's excitement was quickly dashed. "Marlon, you inherit nothing," the lawyer said, his voice steady. "However, Darius, you have been bequeathed this." He produced a set of tarnished keys from his pocket, placing them on the table with a soft clink. Darius's eyes widened in disbelief as he realized the keys were meant for the old car that had been languishing in their father's garage for years. It was a rusted relic from their childhood, a faded blue Ford Mustang that had once been a symbol of freedom and adventure. Now, it was just a hunk of metal, covered in dirt and memories. Marlon's laughter echoed through the room, a harsh, mocking sound that cut into Darius's spirit. "You get all the wealth and I get this?" Darius stood frozen, the sting of humiliation and anger welling up inside him. "Are you serious?" Marlon smirked, leaning back in his chair. "What are you going to do with an old piece of junk? Use it as a paperweight?" The lawyer shifted awkwardly, sensing the tension in the room. But Darius could feel his brother's derision like a physical blow. As they left the office, Darius clutched the keys tightly, contemplating the implications of his inheritance. He considered selling the car, seeing it as worthless in a world that measured value in dollars. Yet a deeper sentiment pulled at him. This car was part of their past, a link to their father that he couldn't quite let go of. As they walked to their separate cars, Marlon's laughter lingered in Darius's mind like an unwanted ghost. Back at home, Darius stood in front of the dilapidated Mustang, its faded paint flaking off in the sunlight. Memories flooded back. The time he and Marlon had fought over who would drive it first on their 16th birthday, the joy of driving down open roads with the wind in their hair. Now, it seemed as if those memories belonged to someone else entirely. Darius opened the car door, the rusted hinges protesting with a groan. Inside, the car smelled of mildew and old leather, a stark contrast to the lavish lifestyle Marlon now enjoyed. He ran his fingers over the cracked dashboard, pondering what to do next. Should he give in to despair or take a leap of faith? Something inside him stirred, a flicker of determination ignited by the challenge before him. Perhaps restoring the car could offer a way to reclaim a piece of his father and himself. Days turned into weeks as Darius immersed himself in the restoration of the Mustang. Each rusted bolt he removed and every panel he sanded down felt like peeling away layers of his own pain and frustration. He found solace in the labor, the rhythmic sound of tools clanking becoming a form of meditation. As he worked, the car began to reveal its hidden potential, much like Darius hoped to uncover his own. One rainy afternoon, as he rummaged through the glove compartment for tools, his fingers brushed against a hidden latch. Curiosity piqued, he pulled it open to discover a secret compartment nestled within the dashboard. Inside lay a stack of yellowed letters tied together with frayed twine. The ink faded, but still legible. Heart-pounding, Darius carefully untied the bundle, a mixture of anticipation and dread washing over him. The first letter was addressed to him. As he read, he realized it was from his father, written during a time of great turmoil. The words spilled out a narrative of love, regrets, and secrets. His father's struggles with being a provider, the weight of expectations that had always overshadowed Darius and Marlon. Each letter peeled back the layers of their father's life, revealing a man who was not only a provider, but also a flawed human being, grappling with his own demons. In the following letters, Darius discovered details about family dynamics that had long been buried. One letter mentioned Marlon, speaking of him with pride but also fear. "I always worried that Marlon would never see the value of family," his father had written, "that he would lose sight of what truly matters." Darius felt a surge of emotions: anger at his father for not being more present, sorrow for Marlon, who had seemingly been abandoned, and a strange sense of connection to the man he had always viewed through a lens of disappointment. He began to understand that the car was not merely a vehicle. It was a vessel of memories, a testament to their father's love despite his shortcomings. As Darius continued to restore the car, he could feel the barriers between him and his father beginning to crumble. Each letter held a piece of advice or wisdom, urging him to embrace his own identity and not let others define his worth. "Life is not measured by wealth or success," one letter stated. "It is the bonds we create and the love we share that truly matter." But just as Darius began to feel empowered by these revelations, a nagging doubt crept in. Should he confront Marlon with what he had discovered? Would it bring them closer or widen the chasm that had formed between them? The tension of uncertainty gnawed at him, pulling him in two different directions. The strain between Marlon and Darius intensified with each passing day. Marlon's dismissive remarks about the car continued, each jibe striking a nerve. During family gatherings, Marlon would regale guests with tales of his business successes, while Darius remained a shadow in the background, the laughter around him serving as a constant reminder of his perceived inadequacies. One evening, while Marlon boasted about his latest venture over dinner, Darius felt an unfamiliar surge of anger rise within him. "You know, not everyone measures their worth in profits, Marlon," Darius snapped, his voice trembling with emotion. Marlon's laughter faded, replaced by an incredulous stare. "What are you talking about? That's the world we live in." Their parents' dining room, once filled with warmth, now felt like a battlefield. "You've forgotten where we came from, what our family means," Darius continued, his heart racing. Marlon's expression hardened, and for a moment, the laughter from the other guests faded away. "And you think that old car is going to change anything? It's just a reminder of your failures." That night, Darius stormed out of the house, the cool night air hitting his flushed face like a slap. As he walked back to the garage, his thoughts raced. How had they gotten to this point? The brothers who had once shared dreams of adventure and success now stood on opposite sides of an invisible divide. In the weeks that followed, Darius buried himself deeper into the restoration process. He worked late into the night, the sound of metal grinding against metal becoming a familiar lullaby. The car transformed under his hands, but with each new part he attached, a sense of unease settled in his heart. He was uncovering the truth about his father, but at the cost of his relationship with Marlon. Flashbacks of their childhood haunted him. The late-night conversations, the shared dreams of becoming something greater. The bond that had once been unbreakable. The tension between them felt like a betrayal of those memories. One particularly vivid memory returned, where Marlon had taken the blame for Darius's mischief, shielding him from their father's wrath. "I always had your back, D," Marlon had said, his voice sincere. "We're brothers, and that means something." But now, it felt like Marlon had become a stranger, someone who no longer understood the value of family. The letters continued to reveal more about their father's struggles, including financial troubles and emotional hardships that had impacted their family dynamics. Darius began to question whether Marlon's success had come at a cost, a detachment from their roots. One stormy evening, Darius sat in the garage, the sound of raindrops pattering against the roof. He had spent countless hours reading the letters, each revelation pulling him deeper into the labyrinth of their family's history. The final letter sat untouched on the workbench, and with each passing moment, the weight of its contents pressed heavily on his conscience. As he finally mustered the courage to read it, Darius felt an ominous shiver run down his spine. The letter spoke of secrets kept hidden, truths that had the power to change everything. Their father wrote about a decision made years ago, one that had been shrouded in shame. He had once been involved in a business deal that had gone south, leading to financial ruin. In an attempt to protect Marlon from the fallout, he had opted to leave him nothing, believing that the weight of expectations would crush him. Darius's heart raced as he pieced together the implications. Marlon's success had been built on the foundation of a lie that their father had constructed to shield him from the pain of failure. Darius realized that Marlon's dismissal of the car was a defense mechanism. He feared that acknowledging it would mean confronting the reality of their father's choices. The revelation filled Darius with conflicting emotions: anger, sympathy, and a sense of betrayal. Should he reveal this truth to Marlon? Could it bring healing, or only deepen the wounds? That night, sleep eluded him as the storm raged outside, mirroring the turmoil in his heart. Days passed, and Darius finally decided it was time to confront Marlon. He invited him to the garage under the pretense of wanting to show off the progress on the car. As Marlon stepped inside, he was met with the sight of the nearly restored Mustang, its once dilapidated form now gleaming under the garage lights. "You really put in a lot of work, huh?" Marlon remarked, his tone nonchalant as he examined the car. Darius swallowed hard, knowing this was his moment. "Yeah, but it's not just a car, Marlon. It's our past. It's our father's past." Marlon rolled his eyes, dismissing Darius's words. "What's there to gain from an old hunk of junk? It doesn't change anything." But Darius persisted, his voice trembling. "You don't understand. There are things in those letters that you need to know. Secrets about Dad. About us." As he spoke, he saw Marlon's facade begin to crack, the layers of indifference giving way to something deeper: fear, vulnerability, and a flicker of curiosity. "What are you talking about?" Marlon demanded, his voice sharper than before. Taking a deep breath, Darius revealed the letter's contents. The air thickened with tension as he recounted their father's fears, his desire to protect Marlon at all costs, and the emotional burden he had carried. Marlon's expression shifted from disbelief to shock, and for the first time, Darius saw a glimpse of the brother he had once known. The confrontation hung in the air, a palpable tension that felt both fragile and charged with potential. Marlon stood frozen, grappling with the revelations Darius had shared. Darius watched his brother's expression shift from anger to a dawning realization, and he could almost hear the gears turning in Marlon's mind. "I can't believe Dad would do that. Leave me out of everything," Marlon finally whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "He never told me any of this. I thought I was the disappointment." Darius stepped forward, his heart aching for his brother. "You were never the disappointment, Marlon. He was trying to protect you. But it hurt both of us in the end." The weight of their shared pain hung between them like an unspoken promise of understanding. Marlon ran a hand through his hair, the facade of confidence beginning to crumble. "I thought success was all that mattered. I didn't realize I was losing my family in the process." Tears glistened in his eyes, and Darius felt a surge of compassion. "We lost more than just a father, Marlon. We lost each other." As the rain beat down outside, a sense of catharsis washed over them. Darius reached for the last letter, holding it out to Marlon. "This is from Dad. It's his final thoughts about family, love, and forgiveness." Hesitant at first, Marlon took the letter, unfolding it slowly as Darius stood by, heart pounding in anticipation. Their father's words flowed like a balm, offering insight and love that transcended the pain. "Family is not perfect, but it is the bedrock upon which we build our lives. Remember to cherish each other, even when it's hard." As Marlon read, tears streamed down his cheeks. "I never wanted to hurt you, Darius," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought if I achieved enough, it would somehow prove Dad wrong, prove that I was worthy." Darius stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on Marlon's shoulder. "We both wanted to be seen, Marlon, but we lost sight of what truly matters, each other." In that moment, something shifted. The walls that had built up between them began to crumble, and in their place, a tentative understanding grew. They embraced, a raw and emotional moment that felt like a long-overdue reconciliation. "I'm sorry for laughing at you," Marlon whispered, his voice heavy with regret. "I was so caught up in my own world that I didn't see you struggling." Darius nodded, feeling the weight of his own anger begin to dissipate. and I'm sorry for pushing you away. I thought the car was just a reminder of my failures, but it turned out to be our connection." As they stepped back, both brothers felt a renewed sense of hope. The car, once a symbol of their estrangement, now represented their journey toward healing. Together, they began the final touches of the restoration, laughter and banter filling the garage as they worked side by side. When the Mustang finally roared to life, the sound reverberated through the garage like a long-lost melody. They exchanged glances, smiles breaking across their faces as the weight of the past began to lift. They climbed into the car, the once abandoned vehicle, now a vessel of renewed connection and shared memories. As they drove into the sunset, the wind whipped through their hair, the open road stretching out before them. In that moment, they understood that while their past may have shaped them, it didn't have to define their future. Together, they were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, united as brothers and bound by the unbreakable ties of family. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Click on the video now to watch. We appreciate your support, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.